this is going. I think we're good. God, I haven't done this in so long. It's usually on Zoom. I'm like backwards right now. All right, beautiful. Okay, so we got the Dave and Dave show today, but we only have one Dave. My father, is doing some legislative work for the association. Um, I don't know how much he's going to be doing that in the future. That is some dry ass work, but you got to love my dad. He is a truest sense of the leader. He's a servant leader, and he is committed to helping people and helping associations and giving more than he'll ever receive in return. You're going to talk about a thankless situation. Hello, Paul Bendowski. All right. So I'm going to pretend to have a conversation with myself, which shouldn't take, uh, isn't much of a stretch. Don't we always have conversations with our inner voice, right? Well, that's not even the point of the conversation, but here's a little aside. Listen to the voice inside. Do you know that your gut is right 82% of the time? Every time I say that, it reminds me of um, Anchorman, right? Um, this works what? It works every time, 60% of the time. All right, we got some fun stuff today to talk about. Super excited to go over some of these topics. Here's the thing, guys. On Tuesdays of every week, we have a broker roundtable inside of Urban Nest, inside of our private group. And it's kind of a members only game um, where we save the good shit just for our agents. That's the way it is, guys. Like you got to pay to play, right? And that's our tribe of never more than 500. And we have conversations around what we're going to talk about today. So we're going to give you a sneak peek inside of what we talked about. And yesterday we talked about the market. We talked about how getting your offer accepted. We talked about the median price and why it's like that and what the threshold is. And then we always add in some value-driven, purpose-driven stuff because we truly believe that's what it's all about at the end of the day. It's purpose-driven life, relationship-based life. This isn't about just money and career. To me, there is no line in between the two. You cannot be a shitty businessman or do some unethical stuff in business, but then be a great father and justify that. No, you got to be both. There are no lines. So here we are. Let's jump in. We're going to jump right into the first thing. Let's pull up the numbers. I don't have screen share. It's actually a lot easier to use Zoom than it is just Facebook Live. But we're going to go. So the numbers are out. The median price is now $363,000, which is awesome. Congratulations, Las Vegas. I've been here 26 years and I watched this go from kind of a little bit like of a cow town, if you want to call it, especially a guy coming from Long Island, New York. It's a small town. And here we are where we're still super affordable compared to the rest of the country. We're almost a tier 1 city. We have professional sports and more to come. It's that strip of that mile or two, or however long it is on Las Vegas Boulevard, is one of the most convenient, fun places in the world. And our prices are starting to reflect what we've known for a long time, that this is a really easy, fun place to live. But let's get into the numbers because some people are having some fatigue and some sticker shock on these prices. And they only have sticker shock on it because of the context. And what I mean by context is it comparing to the prices that we're all used to, it seems expensive. And it seems, how high could it go? Now, there's a thing called level setting in business where you have to set new levels with your staff and with pay and with things like that. Well, level setting right now in our market, where are we? Is 200 a square foot used to feel high. Then 250 a foot felt right in 2004 and 2005 and 2006. It felt right as far as that's what the prices were. Maybe it didn't feel right that it was sustainable. Is this the prices we should be at? Or is it getting too high? Is it unsustainable? And we got some issues there. Now, I am sitting on the whole CFPB game and this conversation we're going to have next week when we get more information. That's going to play a part into this conversation. Shit, now I brought it up. We should almost talk about it. But I guess it's going to be part of the conversation. I wasn't planning on it. But here's the thing, guys. We're going to be talking about how high we can go, right? So that also plays a part in what the government does. Because if it's just a true market, I think we'd already probably have corrected. And again, take corrected with a grain of salt. Because are we actually correcting or are we level setting? So let's get a couple of highs. Hey, KC, Jesse, my man, Yvette, Katie, KC, two KCs. All right, let's talk about the numbers first. Because we have to know where we are, where we came from, and then before we talk about where we are potentially going. So we pull up a plot analysis. Always going to give my boys over there a shout out because I love them so much. They do the reports. If you're a realtor, go on and use the reports. So here's what's even more interesting than the median price being 363. What does median price mean? It means basically the amount of houses. It's the middle. So there's the same amount of houses selling for over 363 that are selling for under. But the average price, when you average it out, then it gets interesting. The average price of units sold in March was 454. So that is what it's really costing. That's a big number. Again, I wish the National Association of Realtors would give us this so we'd be able to search a front-facing MLS for everybody, the public as well. So I wouldn't have to tell you to go on Realtor.com or Zillow or Redfin, but you have to go check, if you're a realtor, other markets and see how unaffordable it is to live in any of these places. Go check Park City. Go check Southern California. Go check any of these places and you're going to realize, holy shit, Vegas is still an amazing deal. But compared to where we were, guys, year over year, you're looking at 13.8% growth in appreciation on average. I don't know about you, 14% growth on an investment, whether it is an investment or whether it's a house you live in, is extreme growth. So something we have to keep an eye on. I don't want to be the negative Nancy, but there is a limit. Okay. Also, 35% more units have sold. Now that is a number that has been skewed a little bit because remember March of last year, Friday the 13th, the world pretty much came to an end and everyone backed out of their deals and we were thriving 2 weeks into March and then boom, the whole market fell. You couldn't even show houses. So that's why we're going to be up. The numbers are going to look really up for April and May as well. I can already predict that. So that's where we're at. A half a month inventory, which means 14 days. Insane. Insane to the membrane. So how high can we go? Now, if I had my dad here, he'd already probably be frustrating me as much as I love him. And he'd be talking about 100 other things. But this is where I would love to have him. And this is where, if you're watching, I want you to throw in some numbers so we can talk about it. What's the over-under, guys? How high will we go before it plateaus or goes down? What are you predicting? I would say 12 months, but that's really not even what I'm asking you. What I'm asking you is whether it takes 24 months or 36 months or 48 months, however long you think the market's going to go, how high do you think Vegas will go? Meaning, what's the median price? What's the last median price, the highest thing that I'm going to come on here and go, oh man, we hit 400,000 median price. You think it's going to go that high? Where should we set the over-under? Okay, let's say this market is insane for another year and we see a 15% growth. 15% growth on 363 is $54,000. That would put us at 417-ish. Let's go with 420 for shits and giggles. Over under on 420. I agree with you, KC. The rates are going to play a part. If I set the over under March of 2022, I'm here with Pops. We're on the 150th Dave and Dave show. What's the high going to be? Is it going to be under 420? Is it going to be over? Give me some numbers. Also, what's going to play a part? Now, this is what I also want to talk about. Now, here's the thing. I don't want to be political. And when I say this, it's going to seem like I'm trying to thread the needle in the middle. But this is the God's honest truth. I am a conservative when it comes to money, and I am a liberal when it comes to empathy and social programs. I think most people are. Okay? I tend to vote with my values and my purpose over my wallet most of the time. But I call it like I see it. So, with Trump, there were some good things he did for the economy. Values-wise, I wasn't necessarily aligned. With Biden, kind of like the values, but I'm not really aligned with what some of the things he's doing fiscally. Not trying to talk about politics, that's just the reality. So I need to give you kind of that disclaimer and that before we start talking about what's going to happen. What I'm hearing is, and I read a little bit about this, so I don't want to sound like an idiot because I don't have all the information, but there are some words through as far as some, let's see, I don't have a good article here. Hold on. Biden and foreclosures. What I'm reading is that the government may come into play and try to prevent any impending correction in the market by really getting and eliminating foreclosures, where you may have a situation where if you could prove that you had a hardship with COVID, that it's kind of like a loan mod, but a very aggressive loan mod. I'm hearing up to 40-year extension on the amortization. Now, there's pros and cons to this. The pros are empathetic, right? Where there's some people that are really hurting, some industries got really crushed, and you know what? Like, we're in this together, guys. Now, on the other end, like we saw with short sales, there was a lot of strategic short sales where people could totally afford their house, but they walked from them because they lost a ton of, and that exacerbated the issue even further. So take this with a grain of salt. Now, I do believe that the market is the market and it should correct itself, but it's being so manipulated by every single government official. It was being manipulated by Trump beforehand, by all that stimulus. Now it's being manipulated by Biden. Republicans and Democrats love spending money. So it's hard to predict the future when the government is propping up the economy like Weekend at Bernie's, right? Dead Bernie, and we're carrying him around. So I don't know. I think rates will play a huge part, but who knows? Who knows? So who we got? We got median 400K end of summer. Good morning. Colorado is up in the mid fours for a median. Colorado's more expensive. Longworth is taking the under. I agree, Dave. Then it will level up. I think largely will be due to interest rates continue to go up. Yes, I agree. But we were looking at, here's the thing, it's unsustainable. Eventually, people are not going to be able to afford the houses. I don't care how many people move here from California or New York. Eventually, it's going to be to the point where people are getting priced out. And I don't see affordable housing coming anytime soon. The opportunity zones and things like that, they would help. But what happens is they become so valuable and the market's so crazy that people try to work around. And it's great intentions, but I don't know how it could be executed. I'd love to hear of good examples, but I am not optimistic when it comes to that. Sometimes you need a little bit of the pain in order for the change. And eventually the eviction moratorium has to end. Eventually people are going to be going back to work and the hiring is going to happen. Eventually the rates have to go up. Eventually we have to protect against inflation. What's going to happen? I don't know. I don't. But I wouldn't, I shouldn't even say this. I can't even give you a guarantee. I used to in the past and say, I guarantee you what comes up must come down eventually. And I would want to give you that guarantee, but I don't know. I don't know if they're going to try to spend their way out of a potential recession. So we shall see. I don't think it's possible. I think eventually it'll happen, and I think rates will play a part eventually. So let's go back to what we're talking about. So we're on the prices. Now, that being said, you got to protect against inflation. So that's why everyone's buying houses right now. That's why everyone's buying goods. That's why the cost of everything is going up. That's why even when you may have more money than you've ever had, you're looking around going, I can't buy shit with it because the dollar doesn't go as far, right? Now I'm like, oh, I made enough money I can go buy a house in California. I look at the prices in California and I'm priced out again. I'm in the same exact spot. I almost feel cash poor, right? So whereas if I had the same amount of money 2 years ago, I'd feel cash rich. So that's why a lot of people are hedging by buying assets and why that's even creating more frenzy in the market because you have a lot of people who want to get their cash into homes. Now, like I said on one of my other posts, cash is trash when inflation's going up, but cash is king when the market changes. So make sure you're making money every year and you're betting on yourself over and over and over again to produce income and buy when it's going up and buy when it's going down and dollar cost average your life, which means dollar cost averaging, which I actually didn't know about. I'm not a big stock market guy, but dollar cost averaging means you're investing all the time. It means you're spending a little bit every single month or every single week or every single day you're investing. So you're not really stuck on the price of a house. You're not really stuck on the price of stock. You're committed to it and you're putting the money in every single time. And over time, that number averages because you bought on the way up and you bought on the way down and you bought when it plateaued. But the reality is you invested the entire time, which means if you invest long term, you're rich. If you're disciplined and you're committed. Now I joke, I love metaphors. I say you got to dollar cost average yourself your whole life, meaning you have to invest in yourself when things are good. You got to invest in yourself when things are bad. So, and you go, shit, I may lose some money. Yeah, you may lose some money. You may make some money too. But as long as you're investing in yourself and you're making income every year, then it doesn't matter because you're betting on you and you have that money to go invest. So that's where I'm at with that. And one of my favorite books, I know you've heard it a million times, and maybe you've read it, maybe you haven't. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I actually have a copy right here. So, okay. Now, let's talk about the actual market. Now, if you're a realtor, you're frustrated right now, especially if you're a buyer's agent. If you're a buyer, you're frustrated right now. So if you're a buyer, you got to get a good realtor. More than ever. More than ever. You know how so before this, the market seemed super easy. So if you're a listing agent, it's not as hard as it used to be, right? The market there's still so much to play and there's nuances and there's little things that separate a great realtor from an okay realtor. But on the buy side now, this exposes great realtors from door openers. And the conversation we're having with our agents is you have to be on your game even stronger right now than you ever have. And it's not by playing games. It's not by being cute or trying to find a mousetrap. It's not. Right now, the realtors who have done well in the past are doing even better because they already have their systems in place. They package a great offer. They negotiate correctly. They know how to speak with people. They got great relationships in the business. They know how to paint a pretty picture on an offer and send it over. They know how to follow up. I said something yesterday because we were talking about this, and I said, write the offer that you would want to receive if you were the listing agent. Buyers, write the offer that you'd want to receive if you were the seller. Now, it seems easy that money wins every time. The cash buyer that's higher than everybody gets the house. Yes and no. Maybe it wins a lot of the time, but not all the time. There are nuances around this offer. If you're a listing agent and you get this garbage offer that's handwritten and there's mistakes everywhere, even if the terms are good, you're hesitant to work with this agent. That's why what company you're at matters as well. We talk about this all the time. You know, is your company liked, known, and trusted, right? Even if you don't like us, you know us and trust us, right? You know that Dave and Dave and Extension, George and Jennifer, and Urban Nest, our agents are good agents. They're not going to be bringing crappy buyers and writing crappy offers. That matters. That's part of the whole packaging. So rather than looking at it from your standpoint and your own buyer standpoint, and you as the buyer's agent, and trying to shove it in and trying to trap people and play games, write the offer you want to receive. Be the agent you want to deal with. I know this is simple, but it's the simple things that people aren't doing. It's the fundamentals that people aren't committing to. We have more agents in our top producer group for Q1 than we've ever had in our life. And there's less business in a lot of ways going to happen. So the haves are really crushing it. The have-nots are struggling. So commit to the fundamentals. So let's get some comments. Where are we at? Oh, no comments. Okay. So what do I mean by that? Listen, if you're VA and you're a veteran, write a letter that you're a veteran. It isn't illegal to talk about who you are. And I know there's some controversy around this about how people can't choose. Listen, it's not about racism or discrimination or anything like that. You can't hide your buyers from the sellers. There are more cameras in houses than ever before. People see the people going in the house. That's not what this is about. This is about saying, like, I loved my house. It's an emotional experience. I raised my family here. I had memories here. I did birthdays here. We mourned together. We cried together. We loved together. We watched sporting events here. We had parties together here. My baby took my first steps here. Like, it's an emotional experience. So when a seller is selling, they're selling a part of their heart. That's the difference between residential and commercial. That's the difference between like investment and like dreams in life. Like, if you're doing real estate right, it's so much more than just a buy and a sell. It's people's lives. It's the moments of their lives. It's the place where people are going to spend the moments, the most intimate moments of their life. And that's the good shit. So people want to sell to people. Some people just want the best money. It is what it is. But some people are like, they feel good knowing that another family's going to live there or whatever. So write the letter. Write the letter from the heart. Okay? That will help. And then make the cleanest offer you can make. No nonsense, no BS escalation clauses, no trapping. Listen, let's talk about escalation clauses right now. The division came out against them. Here's the issue with an escalation clause. Here's what not to do. If I write an offer and say my buyer will pay $5,000 over your best offer, okay? It seems smart, but there's some real issues. Number one, how do you know what the best offer is? You could ask to see the best offer, but the seller, the listing agent, doesn't have to give you that. Plus, who knows if they're having another agent write some BS offer so that you could just go 5,000 over, right? I'm not really a fan of that. And I think there's a lot of liability connected to that. And some people, right, will go 5,000 over, capped at 400,000, and the listing is, I don't know, 375. Well, if you're going to cap it at 400,000, just write the offer for $400,000. Stop messing around. Like, put your best foot forward here. Read the room. Know the environment you're in. Reading the room is, there's 10 people waiting outside to show this house. I better come strong. I better come hard. I better put my best foot forward first. So don't mess with the escalation clause. Last thing, what if two agents offer escalation clauses? Agent number one says, I'll pay 5,000 over the best offer. Agent number two says, I'll pay 500 or 5,000 over the best offer. Then we got infinity. Because if it's 350, the other person goes 355, the other person goes 360, the other person goes 365, the other person goes 370, and it never ends. So if you have to do escalation clauses, cap it to cover your ass and protect your client. That being said, if you're going to cap it, just go up to the price, because you're going to lose the house. So that's where I'm at with that. Okay, any questions? I like to counter those offers the price of their escalation. Excellent, Casey. You're on point, because they showed you your cards, right? I mean, why wouldn't you if you just... So I'm going to negotiate with you. I'm going to offer you 375, but I'm not going to go above 400. That's the worst negotiation strategy ever. You just showed your whole hand. Nobody would do that. So good for you for sticking it right back to them and protecting them, even though it's not your job. Well, it kind of is. You do have fiduciary to everyone in the transaction. Randy, you working with a VA? Yeah. Like, listen, I'm not a big military guy. You know, in a weird way, I'm kind of a pacifist, but I do respect and honor the people that put their lives on the line, whether they're firemen or whether they're ex-military. You know, a lot of people do this because it's the only option they have to get out of where they're at and get a free education and get some money. And the least we could do is take care of our veterans and take care of our military, because they unfortunately, and I don't want to shit on the government a ton today, but it is bipartisan of how then we don't take care of our people. So if someone has done that, put the letter in, because I know everyone has this unrealistic thought process around VA offers, right? Listen, the appraisal is going to come in. It's $1 down, and a lot of times the VA people can come over appraisal. So, Christina, letter does help my sellers just accept an offer because of a letter, and generally I won't do them. I changed my mind. Thank you, Christina. Listen, it's a letter from the heart. You should be doing letters in general. It should hopefully help the transaction also, because people get so irrational in real estate. Listen, that's why they need, I'm gonna tell you a secret. Realtors out there and general public, the reason why realtors get paid is because you're too emotional and you can't figure out this transaction without realtors. There you go. I said it, right? And guess what? Even realtors do this when they buy their own homes and sell their own homes. They forget that they're an expert and they become an irrational, emotional seller or buyer. That's why we're here. So if this is an emotional world, it's a relationship world, it's a connection world, then guess what? Write the letter. Let's appeal to the emotion of people. Let's connect, right? Which we know we don't do enough of as it is. As technology becomes more and more transparent and ubiquitous and part of our lives, we are just so desperate for connection and to feel close with somebody. So hopefully it makes the transaction go a little bit smoother and you get your offer accepted. So write the letter, just got my VA buy the home, tell the story, it helps. Thank you, Dave. Appraisals can become problematic at some point if bidding gets too crazy, right? Yes, Randy, that absolutely happens, but that's going to happen on an FHA, that's going to happen on a conventional, that's going to happen just in general. Then it doesn't become the actual type of the loan, it becomes how much money do they have to come over. VA is only $1 down. So yes, if it should help the veteran, because they only have to put it $1 down, that if they have $25,000 saved, they can use that money and go above, right? So how does that work? If the appraisal comes in at 350 on a dollar down, but the buyer has, or excuse me, appraisal comes in at 350 and the price is 375 and the seller's not willing to go down because they have backup offers for cash 365, 370, but they wanted to give the veteran a shot, then the veteran can say, hey, I got 25,000 saved. I can pay above appraisal, and boom, there you go. Which again, it does not matter if you're VA. People have to do that in general right now because that's just the world we're in. So, okay. So those are your tips. I mean, there's a ton. I mean, we talk a lot about thinking outside the box, and some of our brokers came up with some good ideas to check this and how many days on the market, and they all work. But the reality is that people want the houses that everybody wants. So how do you win those? How do you get the cherry houses? And your best shot is just being a great realtor with great relationships. That's why you got to treat each other good too. You know, if I'm Karen's not at our company, Christina's not at our company, but we got great relationships. And Karen and Christina, they're not going to choose. They don't get to choose. It's the seller that does. But if I write an offer with them and everything's equal, I would hope that they would say, you know what? I trust Dave. I have a relationship with Dave. He has good clients. All things being equal, I'm going to tell my seller, like, hey, I've worked with Dave. I know him personally. We know these clients. He wrote the letter. Obviously, you're going to choose whomever you want to choose, but I feel comfortable using him, going with him and his clients, rather than, yeah, this may be a tiny bit better. Maybe they're waiving their inspection. You're not waiving the inspection, but maybe they're saying they don't want repairs or anything, but it's really ugly offer and it's an agent I never heard of and it just wasn't written right. And I don't even know if there's a broker there or whatever. If all things are being kind of equal, let's go with Dave. So what does that mean? It means treat people like you want to be treated, right? That's the golden rule. It's been like that forever. But I say this all the time. I'll say it again. Be careful of the toes you step on because it might be connected to the ass one day you have to kiss. And the reality is when I'm making the offer, if I'm calling one of my friends or people that I trust, know, and like from another company, I'm calling Billy Alt, I'm calling Julie Youngblood, I'm calling Craig Tan, I'm calling Karen Call, I'm calling Christine Ingram, I'm calling friends of mine going, hey, where are we at? I mean, Karen texted me the other day about one of Angie's listings that was already gone, right? But that's what being in it together means. It's so much more easy rather than doing that cold call on the agent. I mean, someone did this to one of to Angie recently. She had a great buyer that couldn't figure out, it was an older couple, and they couldn't figure out DocuSign. And the offer was strong, and it would have been the best offer. And the agent at the other company was like, you got till 6 o'clock. If they can't figure out the DocuSign, it's gone. She gets it in at like 6:12. They finally figured out how to do DocuSign. Best offer on the table. The agent's like, sorry, too late. Better luck next time. I was like, man, talk about karma. You hurt your seller because you didn't get the better offer. You kind of burned a bridge. Like, all things being equal, we're going to give the nod to this person. Like, just be a decent freaking human being. This market is going to end eventually. And then, if you're a listing agent and you're begging for offers, I mean, are you going to get them? So, we're supposed to be part of the solution, agents, not the part of the problem. I just told you that this is the most emotional transaction for most people. We're there to be the rational ones. We're there to help people get to the finish line. We're there to say, hey, we all have the same destination. Buyer wants to buy, seller wants to sell. Buyer's agent wants to help their buyer and get paid. Listing agent wants to help their seller and get paid. Everybody wants to cross the finish line. This is not a fight. This is a relay race where we're handing off the baton to the next person. It's a good reframe to remember that it isn't all about egos and being idiots. Also, I'm not going to break RESPA and get into commissions and what you offer, but keep that in mind when you're playing this game. Keep that in mind. Okay. I think we beat that one up. Oh, and my last thing. You know how the best way to get your offer accepted in this tight market? It's kind of a wise ass answer. but be committed to becoming a listing agent. And guys, my nest agents, don't get mad at me that I'm sharing all of our good stuff with the entire world. Sometimes it's the greater good, and I want people to know what's going on. You got to be committed to listings. You guys have been so. It's for a long time. It was like the listing game was so competitive. You got fat and happy on being a buyer's agent. You know, you can buy leads from Zillow and whatnot, and Commissions Inc. And buyer's agent, buyer's agent, buyer's agent. But the truth is, list to live. Control the inventory. Control the whole game. So put in the work now. Even if you can't get the listing, start becoming the marketer that you need to be. That's the problem with realtors. They don't become marketers. They outsource their marketing to everybody. They outsource their messaging to everyone, and then they become beholden to whomever controls the game. Create your own content, create your own marketing strategy. Yes, use all the other stuff. But if they turn off Google and they turn off Facebook and they turn off Zillow and they turn off Commissions Inc. and they turn off OpCity, can you still survive on your sphere of influence and your own marketing? The reality is, if I couldn't do this, I would make a video on YouTube or somewhere else and I'd embed it in an email and I'd get it to all of you one way or another. I'd control the message. You got to do that. You got to be committed to becoming a marketer. So it's just a little aside that frustrates the shit out of me because it's the easy buck, but it's not the long-term play. It's not fun becoming a marketer. But if you're not getting your message out with you, and this is coming from the owner, but I always tell people it's not about Urban Nest, it's about you. We're not the lead singer. They're not buying Urban Nest. We're going to help you. We're going to help you in the industry. We're going to help you as a consultant and a coach to you. But at the end of the day, they're buying you. You should be able to take your business to any company and still crush it. You know, I'm going to provide an amazing environment for my agents to thrive. And maybe they'll access some level that they haven't been able to access in the past. But at the end of the day, the agents are responsible. They do the work. They're the ones doing the work and becoming successful. So take some ownership of that whole game. Super important. All right. Which I think is a good segue into the last point. Now, here's my frustration, guys. We are so influenced by our market. Now, for you people who are not realtors watching this, please comment on what your overall assumption of realtors are. And I'm not talking about me. I don't want to toot my own horn, but I like to think I'm in the top 3% of an expert or quality in realtors. And the 80-20 rule of 20% are great realtors, 80% are not, or 20% make 80% of the money. In real estate, it's more like 7% make 93% of the money. 7% are doing all the business. And why do I bring this up? I bring this up because the worst realtor in Las Vegas is representing all of us. So unfortunately, the whole realtor expert messaging is off. And people believe that they could do it without a realtor. And guess what? They're right about 85% of the time. That's why all these companies do well. It's easy to disrupt this industry. And I am having no problem telling the general public this because I feel like I'm one of the people that cannot be disrupted, and I'm not one of that 85 to 90%. The problem is it gets dragged us down. When I was president, one of the most fun things I did and one of the most enjoyable things I did was I would do orientation every month. And it'd be like 200 new realtors getting into the game, right? And I would have to do the induction. You have to raise your right hand and say the realtor code of ethics and the oath. And I would joke. I'd say, now I pronounce you married to, back then, GLVAR, right? The Las Vegas Realtor Association. But then I'd say, a lot of people didn't like this. I'd be like, look around this room. Oh, they'd all look around. And I'd be like, 80% of you are not going to be a realtor within 3 years. And then I'd say only 10% of you are going to make it. I said, you're going to be one of the 20 people in this room that actually make it. And then even less, 10% of that, maybe only 2 realtors are going to be ones who are successful. And I say that's the truth. Because I'm not going to bullshit you on the facts. Those are the numbers. And then I'd say, and here's the even bigger issue. Look around again. You guys are brand new. I'd say I'm the president of this association. And my reputation is attached to the worst realtor in this room. Not even at my company. So, what's the point of this? The point is it's very difficult to continue doubling down on yourself, raising your own standards, raising the standard of your company, raising the standard of the profession when you're beholden to people who are willing to sell out as quickly as they can because they can't hack it in our industry, and therefore they have to treat themselves like a commodity and be desperate and do dirty things. So it could be a real defeating feeling. So as much as I fight for realtors, and I have fought for realtors in the past, obviously, all these things behind me, I cannot save everybody. We can only lead. And maybe we shouldn't even try to save them. Maybe we need to be disrupted. Maybe we need to figuratively let them die and stop trying to protect the entire industry and stop trying to save people who don't want to be saved. So, if we're disrupted, we're disrupted. I don't care. I'm willing to bet on myself. And that's what I wrote there. I'm willing to bet that I will be one of the last men standing. And this is a metaphor for all of you, regardless of where you are in your career or in your life. Sometimes some of you have to do this in your families. It's tough. Your families, your friends, your people, they may be driving you down. Don't be the lowest common denominator. So that's some of the frustration. My father asked a great question yesterday in our broker roundtable. He said, because Georgia was out of town for spring break in Mexico, and I was in Hawaii, and I guess he just knows me well at this point. He goes, "Did you guys have any epiphanies while you were gone?" And I don't even know if he realized this, but you do have to get out of your bubble in life. That's why vacationing is so important. Sometimes, and listen, guys, we live in Vegas. If you're in New York, this may be going to the Hamptons. Regardless of where you're at, I see a couple of you guys in the Midwest. This is for you guys maybe going to the Ozarks, right? You got to get out of your bubble. And Angie and I love this because sometimes we just drive to San Diego or drive to Laguna Beach, and we aren't even at Prim. And for those who don't live at Prim, is about 45 minutes. It's a state line between Vegas or Nevada and California, and we're not even there. And our minds are already opening up. There's this like psychological, physiological thing that happens when you get out of your environment. And it opens up. Like, you can't see things when you're in your own bubble. That's why it's so easy for us to solve other people's problems but not our own. Because when it's not us, it's easy to be like, you're really missing this, huh? Because the blind spots are easy to see. When it's our own life, we can't see the blind spots. That's why they're called blind spots. Getting out of your environment and getting into another town or another city or on vacation, you start seeing your blind spots and you start having these realizations. And one of my realizations was, just because the industry around me is selling out and getting worse doesn't give me an excuse to stop raising my standards, because this is a difficult battle. This is why we've capped our company with the amount of agents. This is why we're one of the few companies that'll actually ask an agent who is very productive but is not aligned with our values, we'll ask them to leave. In this industry, you don't see that. This is why I encourage my agents that if a client is treating you terribly, berating you, and not respecting you, even though there's a commission connected to that, you need to let them go, because they are preventing you from attracting the clients and the friends and the people that you want to work with. This is the hard path. It's even harder where you feel like everyone around you is not taking that path. So that was my realization, is I am going to double down even harder on the standards for myself and for my company while I'm watching this around me happen. So it's just about being resilient and being willing to bet on you, which sounds a lot easier when you say it rather than do it, because what happens is the values start fighting themselves. Do the right thing is number one. Do the work is number two. Well, when you do the work, you expect to get paid. So if you expect to get paid, but it doesn't align with your values, now you have a conundrum because you did the work, but you got to walk away from the money. And that's hard. I just got pitched something really, really good yesterday that I took a hard look at. Could have been potentially very lucrative, but it wasn't in alignment with my father and myself. And I didn't think it would put my agents in the best position possible. So I walked away from it. I walked away from high six figures, like high six figures, because it didn't work. I'd rather do it myself. I didn't want to sell out. Now, given it's easier to do that, I'm sitting in a pretty good spot. Very grateful. Put in the work. But we also did it when we first opened Urban Nest. We said no to agents who could have really got us to profitability quicker than we got. We did it when we weren't making money. We did it for the first 18 to 24 months when we didn't collect a dime. We kept putting all the money we were making, which wasn't a lot, back into the business because we were growing. So these are the things that matter. And this is the resiliency you need in your life, especially now when the market's tough. Because even though it seems fantastic because prices are going up and it's not a fun market. It's not a fun market for buyers. It's not a fun market for buyer's agents. It's not even a fun market for listing agents that are getting tons of offers. And it's not even a fun market a lot of times for sellers that potentially can't even find another house. Yes, they're getting great money. But the buyers that don't give up will get the house. They'll get the great rates, but they need a resilient, strong agent. The sellers that take the right offer, they put the house on the market, and they secure their new purchase, and they go through the process, they get paid off well. It's the people that don't give up and they do the work, that's what happens. But you got to be built for winter. You got to be built for difficulty. Life, real estate, I don't care what it is. It's not easy, but it's the journey. So here's you put in the reps, you build your strength, and here we go. So that's kind of my takeaway for all of you that maybe are a little frustrated, maybe a little tired. Don't give up. I hear story after story, day after day about our agents because we have a very active interior group where they're like, I got my client the house after 10 houses or 10 offers, or the listing agents and I think saying, I got a great new listing and the sellers were able to do this. That's the payoff. That's you serving them and at the same time growing as a business person, as a realtor, as a man, as a woman. That's higher level frame of mind and perspective about the entire game. And that's what we're here for. That's how I started it. It's more than just real estate. If you're doing this right, your people will remember you for the rest of their life. Did you change their lives? So, all right, I got to admit, I love talking to myself and I do have a lot to say, but I do miss my sidekick because this frame of mind I have is a huge result of having that man in my ear for my entire life. Especially having him as an example of someone who's done the right thing every single time and has been successful while doing it. So let's recap. How high can the prices go? We set the medium. We set the over under at 420. We got a lot of unders. I agree. Maybe we should have set it at 400. Quick tip on how to get your offers accepted. Write the offer you'd want to receive. Be the agent you want to deal with. Stick to the fundamentals. Paint a pretty picture, package a good offer, and become a listing agent as well. And then don't be discouraged. Don't be discouraged by the way your colleagues are acting. Don't be discouraged about the market. Don't be discouraged by the industry. I know it could be there. I know. Sometimes I have to find other people out there doing it that way where I can at least go, all right, I'm not in this worthy cause and this worthy battle by myself. There are people I could at least look at and give them a nod and be like, I'm here with you, baby. I'm here with you. So that's why we're creating this tribe over here. All right. Any more comments? Nope. So let me leave you with the original quote I made for this this whole number 3. Still be committed to raising your standards in an industry that is intent on selling itself short. As one of my favorite mentors always said, can't change people. Be a leader, not a saver. That is all I got for you guys today. Listen, I'll give you one more thing with it. Raise your expectations for yourself, lower them for others, and you won't be disappointed, my friends. All right, 110, episode 110 in the books. Leave some comments below. We will respond to them, and we'll see you next week, guys. Stay in there.